Hello, welcome to the Dave and Dale Music Show, episode 9.
That's a milestone.
That's getting close to 10 shows, Dave.
And we're still friends.
You know, some things are hard to understand. This is one of them, I guess. And so yeah, we're glad to be doing this, and glad you tuned in. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to sing a song called What You Don't Say, and we'll talk about it and some other related stuff. You say things you think I wanna hear. Something else is coming through clear. Tell me everything's fine. That's not what's between the lines. 'Cause I hear you don't say. I hear you don't say. It was ain't the message you convey. I hear you don't say. I wish what you left unspoken wasn't true. And I got a different signal sent from you. But I can't ignore what you made plain. Even though I think it's a crying shame. 'Cause I hear what you don't say. I hear what you don't say. Yeah, but it's ain't the message you can bear. I hear what you don't say. I don't think you got me fooled. But for a while now, I've been on to you. I hear you don't say. I hear you don't say. Yeah, it's ain't the message you can bear. I hear you don't say. Yeah, I hear you don't say. I hear what you don't say. Don't say. Don't say.
That's a cool song, Dale. I like that song a lot.
Oh, thank you, Dave. And you did some nice guitar playing there. That was it's kind
I'm firing at 83% today.
of, well, 83 is pretty good. It's a pass in school, a good pass.
Yeah.
Um,
So Dale, tell me and tell everyone how. Like, that's an interesting lyric. I like that. Like, the name of the song is "What You Don't Say," and I kind of get the idea that you're saying things. I mean, I think I'm guilty of that once in a while. You just say things people want. You say things you think the other person wants to hear, right?
I mean, well, that's the first line of the song.
Yeah.
You say things you think I want to hear.
Yeah, and I think that it occurs to me that sometimes we're doing that and we think we're pulling one over on the other person, but we're really not.
Yeah, usually, you know how I often think like, you know how we're all fairly smart and we can sort of tell when something's up. Well, other people are too.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, the song. I mean, it's kind of obvious from what you've already said, but it's just. I thought it'd be fun to tackle the subject of.
So what are you really saying, Bill? That you should always tell the truth 100% of the
No,
time?
I'm not saying that, but the subject of commenting on people don't always mean what they say, or what they say isn't really what they mean.
Right.
Something like that. And so that was my take on that topic.
Mm-hmm. Well, as that song went by, one of the things that hit me was the bridge is quite interesting. I mean, it's not. I think it's a little different than what I was expecting, anyways.
Yeah.
And can you talk about the bridge a little bit?
Sure. I mean, the song has such a minor kind of feeling to it, minor key feeling, which is obvious it's in a minor key, but it's really heavily soaked in that sort of flavor. And then the first chord of the chorus is what you could call an A over B, and it's like, whoa, it's a break from that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Don't think you got me fooled. So instead of going to a dominant seventh there, I'm a minor seventh. And then, same thing. Oh, I belong to you. Now it's dominant seventh.
That's nice, yeah. I really like that. That first chord, what do you call that again, sorry?
It's like an A over B. It's, I mean, sometimes I'm playing it. Could you, if you include the top note, it would be like an F sharp minor 7 over B. But really, just think A over B. Which is typically used in like a 4 over 5. In this case, it's a flatted 7 over a 1.
It's nice.
If that makes sense.
Whatever it is, it's nice. Works.
So yeah, those you could call them slash chords. I guess you could call them. Is that what you call them?
Yeah.
Where the bass note is different than the actual main chord.
Right. Yeah.
Notes.
It works, and you're playing a little descending. There's a descending line going
Right.
on during the verse.
Yeah, I mean, in a minor key, it's it's very typical for chords to have that sort of da, 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 or it's stereo.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. We're down a few steps. In this case, one of the things about this song, so that kind of thing with a descending line, chromatic descending, is very, it's not uncommon in a minor key. In this case, it's a B minor. It just goes a little farther than maybe normal. B minor, B minor, B minor, major 7, B minor 7, B minor 6, and then I go to an E minor, but the pattern continues because now we're down to that note. Then it goes to G major 7, and now we're down to that note, and then it goes to this chord, and now we're down to that note, hang on, this note, so it goes along like 6 half steps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the half steps in a minor key are really they grab you emotionally.
Like you might not be thinking about it, but you're feeling it, and your brain is feeling a continuity of. Like that, something like that.
Yeah, very nice. It's got a Latin flavor for sure. It's
right. It is a kind of Latin tune.
Mm-hmm.
And it's odd. I mean, I don't come from a Latin background. I've got a couple Latin songs. I know you have one. We've already covered one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But
so you're telling me Sawatzky is not Latin?
Well, the last time I checked, it wasn't Latin. But
we're all connected somewhere in the deep past.
Maybe. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. So yeah, that's what's going on there. And the chorus, musically, I don't think there's too much going on. I mean, it's just a B minor. Well, I mean, one of the things about to note, and you know, handing a guitar as a B minor, I keep most of the fingers the same and just change the bass line. You know, then for those first two chords. And this is a song that
I'm
features.
thinking as a bass player, the bass player would have a lot of fun with this
Yeah,
tune.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I guess so. I guess you would. You'd be boring on the verse though. For about the first four chords. Before it goes
He's
to
playing the
yeah.
same note
Yeah,
as
exactly.
you go down. Yeah, sure.
He gets it break there. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Anything else about the lyrics you want to mention?
From what I remember, it was just a fun song to write because it's sort of a fun subject matter and one of the things about this song is I had actually written the song before I properly finished it. I had written it sometime before. I don't even recall, maybe a couple of years before that or so. But then I actually was out in nature, Dave. I was out in nature.
As you're wont to do.
As I'm wont to do. And it just struck me out of the blue, which is kind of odd. That this song, you know, how your brain works overtime. You know, you're not trying to solve a problem.
Right.
You know, I wasn't trying, but suddenly my brain sort of said, "Hey, Dale, wake up, you loser! That song needs a bridge." So I went home that day and wrote the bridge.
Yep, and now it's complete.
And that was that. Yeah. I think it was that day. I believe it was.
So how long after you'd written the song did you think that you wanted a bridge for it?
I think I'm inclined to think it was like maybe a couple of years after.
What, really?
That's what I'm you know.
Wow.
Timelines are a little vague with me, but on that. But I think it's something like that.
Wow.
Which is weird, you know. And
you just recorded that song last year now or something?
It's been recorded just last year on a
I think that's one of my favorite tunes on your new.
Yeah,
album.
It's got a nice trumpet solo on it.
Yeah, it's got Joy singing.
Joy singing. Bless you, Joy.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Trumpet would definitely work.
It was a cool trumpet solo. It was.
The Latins love their trumpets.
I guess they do. I suppose they do. I don't know that much about the Latin culture, but trumpet did. In fact, I thought, this thing, trumpet. I had the choice of saxophone or piano or something. I really thought it really should be a trumpet solo, and I'm glad I went with that.
And songwriters, here's a point that if you're just a beginner songwriter and you're thinking, do I really want to get into this? The payoff for me, one of the big payoffs is, besides all the fame and the money.
It's overwhelming, Dave. I mean,
besides all of that.
Is it hard to know what to do with all that cash?
But it's overrated though. Is the fact that you can hire professional players. If you get to the point where you can, write a decent song, record it, you can hire professionals for a lot less than you would think. I'm talking world-class players can play on your song. You can send them the tracks. They'll, and there's people around where we live that are exceptional players.
Oh, yeah.
And, you can get somebody in, and for $100, $150, they'll, this is a person that spent their life perfecting their craft.
Yeah.
That has played on hit records. It's really quite astounding what
really
you can get. You would think, okay, I was just checking the other day, there's a site called Sound Better, where you can, send your tracks, have them mixed, this kind of thing. One of the guys I was looking at, he just happened to mix Sting.
Just happened to.
Yeah, amongst others.
Run-of-the-mill thing.
He's on there and you can hire him to mix your song.
Amazing. Yeah.
He's a bit more.
You pay a little bit extra.
Yeah, but it's not unreasonable. It's it's a couple grand or something.
Okay, yeah.
To mix your song. Just the fact that he would be available to do that for your song is incredible.
Yeah, I did this he was making reference to this recording I did of this song. So I did a project last year. One of the good things that came out of the pandemic for me, and it was a joy. I have to say. I mean, I don't. I'm not a jazz musician. But I can sort of on occasion I can write those kind of songs, and over a period of time, a group of those kind of songs, gradually emerged. And so I thought, okay, I guess I'll make a jazz album, but I don't consider myself worthy to play on it. I just hired musicians. I mean, I produced it, I guess, so I had involvement in how it went down, but as for actually playing the parts, man, it was just a joy to sit and watch great musicians just deliver the goods. Mm-hmm. So that was nice. Yeah. So anything else about this song before we move on? What was it like to solo over that song?
I love soloing over that kind of.
Oh yeah, you can lean into it.
Yeah, I mean it reminds me a bit of the Santana kind of tune.
Right. Yeah.
I mean I didn't have that kind of a tone set up, but you could easily go that direction with it.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, for sure you could.
But it's like it's a pleasure. I mean, you got to pay attention a bit.
You have to. Yeah, there's a few spots where you could sound silly if you're not careful.
Yeah, but you can really get into that.
Yeah.
As a guitar player.
Yes. Yeah. Cool. So I don't know if there's anything else I want to mention about the song. One of the things that I think is worth mentioning, just as by way of just a general comment, because it wouldn't surprise me. I don't recall actually exactly how I wrote this song. I'm sure I would have written the chorus first, but one of the things I think I'm different than Dave on this front, but one of the things I would encourage the viewers, if you're songwriters, I would encourage you to consider. One of the things I do routinely is I attempt, if I have a lyric in mind, so in this case, I hear that, I try to hear a melody in my head before I even sit down on the guitar. I just try to have a tune that feels like it really wraps itself around those words, and then I'll say, okay, well, what chords would support that. So I try to do that on a fairly regular basis. Not all the time, but I would say if it's a song that has, especially if it's a song that has a chorus, because not all of them mine do, but the ones that do, I would say most of the time I can hear a tune before I even play it back on an instrument. And I find there's something about those tunes, they have more power than ones that are forced into a note from a chord, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And I don't write that way, but the way you're explaining it kind of makes me wish I did.
Well, it's not too late, Dave. And besides, you've written lots of nice songs, so it doesn't matter. But it's something to think about, because the tune is not constricted or contained by any chordal parameters. It's just if you can hear it's. I just find I've had lots of songs like that, especially for a chorus. I find if I'm going to boil it down, I think for choruses especially, I find it's much less sort of craft. It's more just a melody coming out of thin air. With verses, I kick much more into a crafty kind of mode, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So you're
just creating something that supports that other melody.
So am I correct in assuming on this tune you had a melody for the chorus, but not specifically for the verses?
No.
Right.
Yeah. So anyways, that's something to think about. I think it's worth trying, and may not work for you, or may work some of the time, but it's worth, I think, considering, because it might yield a pure kind of melody that has some can stick. Anyways.
Yeah, great tune. I'll ever like that song, Dale.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to ask me about that, Dave? Or?
I think so.
Okay. Well, I think that's all I want to say about it. And I guess I want to say, if you're writing songs, be open. Let's say you think, well, I'm a country guy. Well, open your mind to writing a bluesy song or a jazzy song or a Latin
Mm-hmm.
song or a polka song.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, open your mind to being available to write those kind of songs. If because sometimes a certain song just suggests certain lyrics suggests a certain feel. At least in my mind, it does.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and so that's something to think about too. But I guess we'll bring it to a close. Want to encourage you to consider giving to your local food bank or agency that supports the needy. And we really are glad you tuned in. I hope you tune in again sometime. Take care.